Laying the dude disguised as enough stew.
Strength and honor, strength and honor, strength and honor.
Hello. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Why so serious?
I could crush you, let go what him.
At my signal, unleash hell.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Hello.
Hello, happy Christmas week, everyone. I hope you guys are having as stress-free as possible Christmas week going on out there. And I found, trying to stay up to date with all the news and for you guys, I found myself getting super stressed out, bummed, and depressed, and I did not like how it was making me feel.
Yeah.
It was pretty terrible, I must say. So before I jump into that, I want to make sure that everyone can hear me. How am I sounding? And looking on Facebook and YouTube. You guys might hear a sad Oedipus in the background.
See if Carol can get.
Yeah, please get him out of here, Carol. But I really didn't like how I was feeling looking at all that news. So again, I'll wait for some confirmation or to get that. Did you verify us?
Yeah. Yep, we're good.
All right.
Good to go.
So as I was watching the news, I just found myself getting darker and darker, more depressed. We had the news out of England that there's another strand that's 70% more infectious. There's been positive news on the Trump campaign front. They just submitted a request that the Supreme Court overturn Pennsylvania. So there's been a lot of movement in the news, and there's been a lot of stuff going on, and I just found myself like getting overwhelmed as I'm looking at. They just passed the $900 billion stimulus bill, of which is going to make zero difference in anyone's life.
Yeah, and there's really not that many details out yet about the technical aspects of it. It's generally assuming that it's going to operate similar to how the one earlier this year did, as far as who qualifies for the stimulus checks and things like that, going off of your 2018 or 2019 taxes. I know that we had an extension for our taxes, so we hadn't filed 2019 at the time that they were calculating,
right?
And but now we have, so I don't know if they're going to change. We had a better year 2019 than 2018,
right?
Which potentially, I don't know if that's going to knock us out.
Which has no effect on 2020.
But for 2020, you could have had the bomb year in 2019 and 2020 just be crushed. So
Yeah, it just
for the
shows
fact
you
that
that
they're operating on taxes prior to this economic crush just is not a reality for so many people. And I know that, how can they truly assess, people's economic status right now? So I understand why they go off taxes, but it just doesn't.
How about
represent
bank statements to see how you're doing? That will give you a snapshot of where everyone is.
Yeah.
The problem, it just shows the government does nothing well.
Yeah.
They do nothing well.
What makes me sick is how these senators, now they're patting themselves on the back. They're like, oh, we did it. We got this bill passed. And it's just gross.
Disgusting.
How long it took for them to get this, how political, of course, it got. And
how many disgusting things are we going to find in there? And it was
and
Nancy
now
Pelosi.
they're like, oh, it was bipartisan. It's beautiful. Like, go us. And it's just vomit.
Yeah, it just puts a lot of darkness in your heart that you got to make a full-time job to get rid of, right? So
Hi, Scott. He said, can we make it where they only tax us for the absolute essential stuff? That would give us all more money all the time.
Yeah, I think that's an option, Scott. But right now, the best thing they can do is open up the damn economy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the rest of us, $600 that we may or may not qualify for. I mean, that doesn't even cover your heating bill.
Yeah, well, and then I know that small businesses are getting, the potential for more loans and things like that. Not sure, they haven't released kind of the structure or
Brandy.
requirements for that part. You know, I don't know if we'll qualify for anything there or not. But again, it's the too little, too late scenario. And I think it's going to go down with sour grapes for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's and the bad part is like I found myself going down this dark path because I know that we don't have the money for this.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have the money before. We
Yeah.
don't have the money now. And, if we don't open up the economy and quick, and I mean really quick, we're all going to be screwed. We're all going to be in food banks, taking home soup to the family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're at. And I don't think people understand that how dire things are. Yeah, you may have a job now, but how much longer are you going to have a job for? And cuts are coming for the government workers and everything else. I just find it rich is that 99% of the people saying, stay home, don't open up your business, are the people that don't need money.
Of course. Of course.
Right.
It's easy to say that when you have zero perspective. And I mean, I feel so bad for, restaurants especially, but these businesses that had this glimmer of hope kind of being able to open up and now being shut down again. One of our clients, a fitness club, they've had to shut down they were struggling as it was with all of the restrictions, and they've
Right.
just had to completely shut down some of their clubs in certain states again. And, for those employees who thought that they, okay, maybe I'm going to make it now, and then they lose their job again right at Christmas time. And it's, the impact, and we've been talking a lot about kind of the mental health aspect of this, and that was kind of back in the beginning. People were saying the fallout from this is going to be way worse than the disease itself, and that is coming home to roost and then some.
Yeah, well, I think that, we're seeing more and more business owners get pissed
Mm-hmm.
and violate laws. And, I'm surprised again every day. We live in the active shooter world, workplace violence world.
Mm-hmm.
Every day that a business owner doesn't go, quote unquote postal
Yeah.
or whatever is amazing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a miracle of, it can only be described as a miracle.
Well, and
Why they
I'm
haven't
sure
taken their
there
frustration
have
out
been
on the
some things that
government.
have happened that just don't get covered. I mean, there was a pretty significant
Oh,
active
no, you
shooter
yeah.
in Texas, but
It
so
wasn't with the
maybe
right
they're-
motivation,
Maybe
right?
they're happening on a smaller scale, but
Yeah, trust me, if a Republican or a conservative or a pro-Trump business goes out and shoots a politician,
if it's that, yes, I was
the
saying that if,
left-wing media will not stop chomping
I
on that
agree there. I
rabbit.
was thinking that if it was like an employee
No.
who was taking
No,
it
it's
off
not gonna
on
be an
the
yeah,
employer or
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah,
But
trust me, if it comes from the right side and somebody decides they had enough and they want to, they do
well, the
something
whole
terrible.
Gretchen Whitmer abduction plot.
Yeah. Well, those were anarchists. They
Yeah.
weren't even us.
But I'm just saying, I mean, there have been the plans out there retaliating against these politicians who way overstep, and Scott's next comment is to that point as well.
Well, and that's why, here's something that really hit home for me, because I've been teetering on the masks and back and forth, whether they work or they don't work or social distancing doesn't work.
Mhm.
So there, I saw a meme the other day that said I hate to drop a meme as the world of
Yeah.
wisdom here,
Yeah.
but it's common sense logic. So we don't have hardly any flu cases anymore because social distancing
Mm-hmm.
and masks have worked.
Mm-hmm.
We have COVID spreading and, at an all-time high ramping up, but it worked for the flu. So why didn't it work for COVID unless it doesn't work for COVID?
Yeah, well, I think so. Some people point to those much lower flu numbers being that flu is being classified as COVID right now. That's why we're not seeing
Well,
it.
it's
So,
gotta
there,
be
so there is flu. It's just not being labeled as such. And then there's the argument that, yes, all of these precautions we're taking for COVID do work for
Hey, Captain Caveman.
do work for the flu, and that's why the flu is lower.
Yeah.
So it's hard to suss out. It's probably a little bit of both. But yes, I mean, to the point that the cases are are often worse in these states that have had the highest compliance of masks and social distancing and all of that, and yet I can't remember what the very high percentage of people who report positive cases say, well, I wore a mask, like they were complying, yet they still got it. So of course, I mean, who thinks that those little cloth, cute fashion designer masks?
I mean,
do
they're
anything?
basically rabbit's feet, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically a psychological game that if you're thinking about it by having a mask on and you're purposefully avoiding the boogeyman, then you'll make better decisions, is what they're saying. But the problem is they've invalidated themselves all to the point of they're irrelevant now. No one trusts what anyone says anymore. And I think the other reason why the flu hasn't spread as much is because the main vector of travel with flu is kids, whereas kids don't spread COVID.
Right.
So by not having them in school and not all this stuff, I think that's one of the things that they're one of the caveats they're saying. But anyway, so to get to the point that I was talking about, I didn't want this to be another bitch session on COVID-19 and woe is me and all this other stuff. I felt like, for those of you who've ever been in a fight, I felt like I've been getting my butt kicked and I've gone into complete cover-up mode, right? I just was going on full defense. And you don't win fights that way, right? So, I finally decided I'm going to throw the switch, right, and attack 2021, attack the COVID reality, attack the economy reality, attack all the issues in myself, all the issues in my life, and just sit there and say, you know what? For lack of a better term, screw this.
Yeah.
Right? I'm arming up to the teeth with Jesus, with tactics and every ounce of know-how that I have, turning my mind, soul, spirit into making sure that, that me and mine are going to have a good year next year or survive next year, no matter what in the hell happens. Yeah. And I challenge you all to do that, right? Now, part of the dark side, it can be depressing to do contingency planning and prepping and all these things because it's acknowledging that bad things can happen on a scale where life is not ever the same as it was before. And hey, Robert, good to see you, and thanks. So again, I wanted today's, we're kicking off Christmas week, and I wanted this first segment to be about how to attack 2021. To get off the woe is me party, to get off the, whatever. You can have all the righteous anger you want, but stop being a punching bag to COVID-19. Stop being a punching bag to the government. Stop being a punching bag to the news media, social media, and all that stuff. And I can tell you what I'm doing. And it may not work, but I'm telling you what I'm doing. I already feel better about it. First thing, I've reasserted and dove headlong into faith. And I did it in an orderly way. For me, every time I dive in the Bible, I have to start in the Old Testament to get the proper framing of everything. And it's the most under-preached part of the Bible. So I know that I can walk into any rainbow unicorn church out there, and I'm going to get rainbow unicorn Jesus and seeker-friendly Jesus all the time. And when I'm walking through the 9th layer of hell, that's not what I need. Right? I need all the tough lessons, and I need to know, hey, Blake, good to see you guys, and God bless you as well. And broke your arm, so training is a downturn. Holy smokes, Brandon, sorry to hear that, but don't worry, you got legs, right? You got other things
one
you
other
can
arm.
Do, right? Well, I remember when my back was out and I had to do stuff, and I have 2 ski poles or hiking poles, and that's the only way I could move, and I had to do it. But anyways, just sit there and say, hey, I had to dive back into faith. And I've been getting so much out of the Old Testament.
Well, and I think you've had to change how you analyze the Old Testament as well, because I know that there have been times that you read the Old Testament and
See you later, Brandy.
And it depresses you. It gets you down. Because it's hard to kind of reconcile that God with what we're supposed to believe now. And so there were times that you would leave those readings kind of crushed spiritually, and I think you've been also able to change how you interpret that and how you internalize the lessons from the Old Testament in a way that now you benefit versus that it makes you struggle even more.
Well, I had to let go of my vanity my arrogance, my pride, and being able to think that I'm going to be able to figure everything out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the atheist in me. The atheist in me, my security blanket is if I can understand it, I can plan, I can do whatever, I can. God's unknowable.
Yeah.
And being able to ease into that, I still struggle with it.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'm in Leviticus right now, and Aaron's son's getting smoked by God because they did the wrong thing with the incense.
Yeah.
I'm just like, holy smokes, where's the love? Where's that loving God that the rainbow Jesus, the rainbow unicorn, happy, seeker-friendly Jesus talks about, the father of all.
Yeah.
And I'm looking through and I'm seeing this hard, stern discipline, put to death for working on Sundays and all that stuff. And I just got to accept that I'm not going to understand it. I got to accept that, there's more works that go forward from there and just turn the page.
Yeah.
And find it. And the thing that I really found, that the profound thing that we found that was so, I did not check out Effed Up World. That's part of my thing to do this week, Captain Caveman. But that is something I'm really going to, I promise you I will look at and I will comment on it. I lost my train of thought there.
Weird.
I just stopped breathing. Oh,
talking
no,
about
I lost my train of thought there. Anyways.
the revelation that we both had.
Oh, yeah, the revelation that we both had, because we've cheapened sin so much.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back at, in numbers and the amount of sacrifice and the cost. I mean, buying those bulls, those rams, those things, and seeing that waste of food and all that stuff. We've cheapened sin so much that we just say, well, I'll just pray for forgiveness and it's done. And, and again, we've been talking about this the past couple of weeks because it's been such a hard-hitting point for me that we have to hate our sin, even the smallest sin, so much, because that's why, why Christ was tortured and nailed to the cross.
Yeah, I think for any amount of sin, as we've been going through the Leviticus and all of the commandments and everything, for every single thing that was a sin against God, they had to bring that animal, and there was that tangible loss of life in exchange for that action. And now we just, say a little, oops, I'm sorry, God, please forgive me. And I think we have to, in our mind, as we acknowledge, either anticipate a sin and then still do it, or after a sin say, holy smokes, that's what I just did. We have to see Jesus on the cross because of our action. Not, we can remove ourselves from that so much, but I think kind of picturing him there for me, picturing him there for you, that drives it home a lot more, and gives much more gravity to our sin and to our action, to make me not want to do it again, versus saying, oops, if I do it again, I'll just say I'm sorry again.
Yeah, it's way more than the 10 Commandments. I mean, there's so much going out there. And Scott, you're welcome. What I'm doing right now is I'm doing as much for me as I am for you guys. We're isolated in the country. We got friends. I don't feel like there's any churches here. Ken's all the way up in Maine. That's the only place where I really felt like I got fed what I needed. Mm-hmm. So I know that there's got to be a lot of people struggling out there. And I know that there's a lot of people who don't have a truth. They have politician preachers. Yes. And Ken is not that. And you can agree with him or you can't agree with him, but he's going to be honest with you whether he hurts your feelings or not. Mm-hmm. So the more I sat there and I thought about attacking 2021, and it comes down to identity and what your identity is. Mm-hmm. And for everyone who's struggling, like when I struggle with the things that I struggle with, just like everyone has their struggles, the easiest way for me to get over that struggle is to put Christ at the center of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. If I am thinking of porn or anything like that, which is not my struggle, God removed that. Porn in the military is part of your coping mechanism. Mm-hmm. It is everything you do when you're deployed. It is it becomes part of your life. You don't even think about it. Mm-hmm. For me, it was easy to disconnect that because once I saw the human smuggling and what happened with the disgusting nature of these weren't actresses or models in magazines
choosing
anymore.
To be there.
These were people being victimized that I was able to turn it off more easier. And then, having a great relationship obviously that's a great alibi. But, you know, even when, you know, we're struggling or we're not connecting or you're tired or all those things, is I just put Christ at the center of it and it went away. My primary struggle right now is switching fuel sources. And for those of you guys know, this is my most challenging issue now is where the devil or Satan in the spirit of anger or whatever you want to call it was my fuel for 40 plus years of my life. And now having to switch that fuel source to Jesus, and it's so darn hard for me.
Yeah.
You know, because all my music is all, you know, anger
And you're talking about fuel and primarily for your workouts.
I'm talking about fuel for my workouts, but everything else. So what I did is I knew that in the SEAL teams when I was scared as heck, I could crank the evilest, angriest music. I'd get mad that there was no God. I would get mad at all these things. This is my thoughts as an atheist. And that drove me forward. It was an FU lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right? It was an FU. I'm going to, you know, do it anyways. And, you know, trying to do that while embracing Jesus.
Yeah.
And embracing this
love and peace.
And now I'm lining the way I'm lining it up in my mind is I have to be the protector for my family again. And it's not an FU like I'm going to hate everyone, because that's what it was. I'm going to hate the enemy. And I'm called to love my enemy.
Yeah.
Right. And the way I had dealt with that was it's like a rabid dog. If my dog goes and get rabies, I'm going to cry when I put my dog down because I love my darn dog.
Yeah.
Even when they frustrate me beyond. Right. But it's now become a danger to everyone around it in itself. And, you know, and that's how I look at that. But I just had to sit there and say, okay, the enemy's at the gates, right? The enemy, you know, what is a Christian warrior, right? So again, to back it up, and I'm sorry, I'm scattered, I'm all over the place, but your identity as a Christian warrior, what is a warrior, right? Well, a warrior is somebody who's going to go into battle and is going to fight an enemy, right? That enemy is Satan. That enemy is unemployment. That enemy is, you know, a broken marriage. That enemy is depression. The enemy is faithlessness. So you have to wrap everything that you are in this new identity, and it has to be every other thought in your world, right? When you roll out of bed and it's cold in the morning and you don't want to work out, what would a Christian warrior do there? Put Christ in the center of that. So it's not just what would a warrior do, right? But it's like, I am letting down Christ. And when you commit to Christ, it changes everything. So just being able to sit there and say, and maybe 6 a.m. workouts aren't you. Maybe the Jocko Willink 4 a.m. isn't you because your garage is 28 degrees or 16 degrees in the morning. You have to set that aside of time, and it has to become your identity. And anytime you come to a decision tree, right? It is the spiritual battle, Captain Caveman. But anytime you come to that decision tree where it's take the easy way out or quit on yourself or don't do what you say, find that identity with you as a Patriot Crusader, as a Christian warrior. I mean, that's why I named this Patriot Crusader mission, to create Patriot Crusaders, these Christian warriors that would go out and be force multipliers and be able to speak into other people's lives and to pull men up and say, stop being that soy latte, soft mush monster in the corner and get involved and fight for every inch of your life on all aspects of it. You have to fight for it.
Well said.
You have to fight for your marriage. Like the schools have failed your children. You failed your family by turning over mentoring to a teacher or a coach. That is your damn job, right? That is your job. You are the mentor of your family. You know, whether you're the man of the family, if you're a single mom, it falls on you, right? You know, and you got to start weighing in on that. And that's what I think this COVID-19 2020 world was a way to clear out all the noise. If you're still watching pro sports in 2020, shame on you. Shame on you. There are fires to be put out. If you're talking about sports, it should be with your kids out in the backyard doing them. You know, one of my family members was like, none of my kids want to go out and play in the snow. You've got an entire generation of kids that don't know how to play in the snow. Get out there and show them. So anyway, sorry, I'm fired up and,
Nope,
and any of that
have
stuff.
at it.
So I'm gonna go to here. Most people don't know that is true spiritual battle. You sound as if though you're unstable at times. Unstable at times as some of me friends. Music can be used to control a picanical level. Robert, you're gonna have to break that down to common.
Yeah, that's
You
my
know,
word.
10th education word there, 10th grade education word
A
there,
GED word.
yeah, a GED word or a 5th grader word. You sound as though I'm unstable. I wouldn't say I'm unstable,
Yeah, I
Captain
disagree
Caveman.
with
I'd
that.
say that I've got the best life going imaginable, and I just recognize weakness in things. And I think that and then I can flip it on that. I'd say we're all unstable at some way.
I mean,
Meaning you're
unstable
one
has a
bad
very,
decision
unstable has a
from-
very negative connotation. I think you experience highs and lows of emotion the same way that anyone does.
Yeah.
And I think unstable is when you let those emotions dictate your actions in unpredictable ways. But I mean, you are able to recognize kind of when you have these emotional changes and what you need to do to fix it, or you can kind of self-analyze that on what's going on, what do I need to change, why am I experiencing this right now?
Yeah, and I guess I would say, without getting all psychodrama, psychological unstable, is I think we're all unstable to a point. That's where those anger outbursts come from people, particularly people with PTSD. That's why if you haven't seen if you want to know what PTSD is like, or you want to be able to see something that does a really good job of showing how some people deal with PTSD, the Cover Me by
Morgan Whalen.
Yeah. Whalen video.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a short video. It's fantastic. You're going to bawl your eyes out. It's, anybody who's done any work with people with PTSD or suicide, it is hardcore and it gives it. But don't let the high-minded haters run the train on us. Yeah, I agree with that, RJP. It's the stable part, but we're all unstable to a reason, to speak to Captain Caveman. Like, you're all one step away or one bad decision from falling into porn. If you're an alcoholic, you're one bad decision from falling back into alcoholism, or a heroin addict, or any of whatever your drug is. And my drug was anger.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So,
I think that the closer that you get to Jesus and to really walking that out, the more stable you become, because you have tools to kind of moderate your emotion. You have tools to moderate your action. So having an incident that would typically have made you angry, you have, through Christ, the ability to say, how do I need to react to this differently or in a more tempered way?
Yeah, well, I think it's all about what target you're aiming for, right? So before it was, burn the world down around me, live in the moment, only do, self-gratifying things because I didn't know how long I was going to be around, right? Minute to minute, it was a Viking mindset of, whatever, to now trying to be the best version of myself so I can lead people to Christ. I mean, that is, I think, the ultimate goal. And that is a huge responsibility, because no one does more damage to Jesus than Christians. How many of us being hypocrites? How many of us falling short have damaged the faith and turned people away from them because, if he's one of them, then I don't want to be anything like that. And I think that can be, that's something that we all have to be on the watch for.
Yeah.
Having a Jesus sticker on a car and driving like a jerk.
Yeah.
You turn more people away.
Can we talk about the being on camera versus off camera kind of expression of anger or frustration situation that happened the other night?
Go for it.
You were experiencing some technology issues.
Yeah.
And
imagine that.
You were becoming increasingly more frustrated, and I said, channel your Ken, because our pastor, he would very often have he would be doing live stream, and he would kind of give off this aura of calmness no matter what was going on. And you've complimented him on it before, and he, I guess, said to you, I don't know whether jokingly or not, he said, "Oh, well, I know the camera's on."
Yeah.
And you said that as well. He said, And I said, well, the camera is on, your daughter's watching.
Yeah, that hit home like a sledgehammer.
But just as far as, does it even matter? So, so Ken might be more conscious of how he's reacting, or us, because we're live streaming, how we react if there's an issue, because we know people are watching. In your house, your kids are watching. If you're alone, Jesus is watching. So does it even matter if anyone's around, or the camera's on, or your kids are around? Act like you know that Jesus is watching your actions, and how would he want you to handle
Well,
a
it's
situation?
that decision tree I talked about again, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's, do you want to lead in that, or do you want to go off to the path,
Right,
off on the side? And I think that, recognizing that and having a strong partner, wife, friend, Christian brother, whatever, whoever's around you, to call you on it when you deviate. So the next time you're angry, or the next time you're running into an issue, you don't stumble. You
Mm-hmm.
recall that, and you
Yeah.
make the right decision. Yeah, it is character. Character is basically who you are when no one's watching,
Mm-hmm.
right? And Jesus is always watching,
Right.
right? And that's something we have to understand.
But those are those actions when you're saying kind of, you say one thing and act another way, and what does that do as far as representing the faith?
Yep.
It's those moments, and I think it's, if you act knowingly different because you don't think anyone's watching, what does that really say about your faith?
Right, exactly. And those are the hypocrites,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, I started looking at everything and how I wanted to attack, and, and to use 2020 as an example. 2020 cleared out a lot of the noise, and you had a lot of people who in the beginning of this COVID thing, started doing home projects and all these different things. And now money's getting tight for a lot of people, and that's not going to happen. But there are some incredible opportunities for you to attack in your marriage, in your relationship with your children, in your community, as people struggle for you to move the ball down the field for Christ.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be people in crisis all around you, and now is your chance to step into the light and lead.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're all called to do, and that's what we really have to do. And that's what I'm hoping that, this podcast will help facilitate in some small way.
And I think kind of to Scott's point too, I mean, how he's saying that, their church is closed, they're struggling. I think so many people are homeless right now, church-wise. And so we need to be that for each other. We need to kind of bring back the small group kind of feel, and really be there to support each other in that way if your church is letting you down.
Yeah. Well, and that's for real, right? I mean, one of the things that we, that most people miss from church most is their small group, right? Because that's where they worked out issues.
Yeah. And right now, obviously, we're not encouraged to bring groups into our home and things like that. So
that brings me to the first topic or the first thing that we're going to do with PCM and the social media page is in our Facebook small group. We're going to do at least meet once a week again, where we're going to do a small group there. We'll see how long it stays small, where we work through issues with one another in a confidential environment. We'll do it on Zoom. So I'll put a Zoom out and we'll meet, and, I'll bare my soul, and I'll be honest with you. I don't have all the answers, but I figure between all of us, we'll be able to come up with some solutions as long as we put, God at the center of it.
mm-hmm.
The 501c3 church got exposed. You nailed that, bro. When pastors are out there worried, when they're weighing what they're going to say based off of donations and who they're going to offend in the crowd, that has really, that has hurt the cause of Christ more than anything.
Yep, for sure.
And we've seen that in countless, what I would call light churches, or seeker-friendly churches, where it's like all about filling the seats in there, but don't you dare tell them that homosexuality is a sin, or address any real issues. It's only the good stuff, and that's, and they have a starving base then because they're not getting fed, which they need to be. So that's one aspect of this, which is small groups and getting around and bonding with like-minded Christians. People, I've been in a lot of conversations, and Jay, why do you want to move from Charlottesville. It's beautiful. It's this and that. It's all that. You live in a great neighborhood. And it's because I want to raise my family around like-minded individuals. You know, the world is going to creep in no matter what. I want to set the table and give my kid the best chance possible for having a Christ-centered life. And you can do that anywhere, but I want to, I can only be around my kids so much and who they hang out with and all that. So I want to raise my kid in a pocket of Bible, God-fearing, Bible-following, Bible-believing, God-fearing Christians. And that's really hard to find where we're at.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. I mean, I remember moving here from New England, and I was like, holy smokes, everyone here is religious, and it seemed like everything you came across was that, but certainly
and
the
now
more
we want
you
a church,
settle in.
the church we want is in New England.
But as you get to know the area more, there's certainly more and increasingly influences here that are not church-based, not Christ-based, and even the Christians, as you're saying, there's a lot of fluffy, those name-only Christians,
right?
That they don't walk the walk, and you wouldn't want influencing your children. And there's, as far as we certainly would not want to use the public school system around here, and there's a lot of Christian private schools, but everyone just sends their kids to them because they want, I would say the majority of kids there are not Christians that go to these Christian schools, and so the influences there are certainly not what you would expect.
They're called Saint whatever just to get the religious exemption.
Yeah, but there is a great Christian homeschooling cooperative here as far as being able to plug into that, but it is harder to find than I originally would have thought.
Yeah, and it's just that's why I would like to move to some place where to be around like-minded Christians in a community where everyone's looking out for each other, everyone's pulling for each other, and it's not the government doing it. So that's the spiritual aspect of what we talked about. There's the faith-based part of this, which is, diving back into the Bible, deliberately making decisions as a Christian warrior, and your identity in Christ needs to be at the center of that, and putting Christ at the center of whatever issue you're working through. Thanks, RJP. The next part is physically. You got, it's real easy, particularly as you rack up injuries and you get older. You have to be some form of functionally fit.
Yep.
If you are not functionally fit, you're not a warrior. You're just a victim with a firearm, right? You may die of a heart attack running to the gunfight.
Yeah.
Right. So you really have to take some time, and you really have to harden your soul, with, I think, some pain of training. One of the things, in working out with fellow Christians, there's nothing better than working out with Ken Graves in the morning and the guys over at Calvary. Even if they were doing something different than the way I do it, nobody works out exactly the same, but getting around people and working out with them, it shows you who they are and their character. One, how committed are they? How much pain do they put themselves through? Do they quit easy? And it's a way to, again, to shore up that warrior identity and to strengthen and affirm yourself. So when you do need it someday, it's there.
Yes.
Right. And they are so married to one another, and no one really realizes that. Everyone thinks they can be the 500-pound fat Bible guy and they're cool.
Yeah.
And that does not work. People don't follow that.
It's a good point. I think that I don't think that a lot of people do appreciate that connection. But I know that we're called to kind of treat our body, what is it, as a temple, the right word? Or I mean, we're supposed to take care of it, and a lot of people do neglect that.
And it's easy, and particularly with people who their drug is food, or their addiction is whatever, that
if their wife makes a mean chicken parm.
Or their wife makes a mean chicken parm. But that's the part of it, and you got to do it. And whenever you do it, I know going to gyms is hard right now, and buying equipment is expensive. There is so much free calisthenic workout, walking, running, jogging, jumping jacks, jumping rope, whatever. If you want to be in shape, you're going to be in shape. So you need to do it.
Yes.
You just need to do it. You just need to do something. Right? Now, the other part of that, is the third tier of this is, You have to know how to fight. You have to be dangerous. If you want to be respected, you have to be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, you're harmless. And, you know, harmless people are the beta soy boys that are, you know, most of our pastors.
Well, and that's
that
what you
I
run
have
up against, and your
have nothing in
biggest
common with.
beef with the perceived Christian male is that that's what a lot of people believe that they're supposed to be if they're going to be a true Christian. And I know that you just brought this up in one of your men's group meetings, and you were met with a lot of silence, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was just, you know, when I talked about being dangerous as a Christian warrior and how I think that's key to being a protector, that, you know, I was met with a bunch of blank stares by a bunch of these betas. And I think that's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that Christianity has a brand problem when it comes to going out and crushing life and climbing mountains. And that's what I think John Eldridge's works are so important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, going out there and being a man, being in the wild, being, you know, doing hard things. Hard things builds confidence, fortifies faith.
Yeah.
You know, climbing a mountain, getting as close as you can to God, you know, is you're going to have a spiritual awakening there, and your walk with Christ is going to grow in those tough challenges.
Yeah.
And, you know, sitting in comfort, nothing gets done. You don't grow anywhere in comfort. You only grow by being uncomfortable. And our main mission in this civilized world should be to get uncomfortable. And anywhere you get uncomfortable, you will grow.
Our culture really has done us such a disservice to the individual, as far as that we've lost that part of our identity, you know, in that being uncomfortable, being stressed can be good. It really forges us in that way. And people just avoid it at all costs. And look where we are.
If you don't have calloused hands, you're part of the problem. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you shake a man's hand, there should be calluses on there from weights.
It shouldn't be softer than my hand, guys.
Yeah. You know, or what? I don't care if you're a keyboard warrior. I don't care if you're whatever. You need to harden your hands. You need to harden your body. You need to harden, you know, yourself to be able to withstand the storm. And, you know, there's a part for you to do. Rely on God for everything, but he expects you to do your part.
Yeah.
And that's the part that kills me about modern churchianity is God's a self-help coach who just does everything for you. You can sit around and do nothing, and he's just going to rescue you, and I don't buy that.
No,
you know, there are those he will rescue like that, and he'll use their story for his glory. But it's harder day in and day out to do the hardest things out there as a testimony in Christ than to do nothing and just say, yeah, I'm a follower of Christ, and I'm a big marshmallow who does nothing. I don't achieve anything. I don't do anything. I don't lead anyone. I don't weigh in on any consequences. I make no difference in life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Who the heck wants to follow that guy?
Nobody.
You know? So, and you want to lead people to Christ, be a person that people want to be and inspire them and show them that Christ is how you got there.
Yes. Amen to that. Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And that is unfortunately when you see these participation trophy Christians out there, I think they're part of the problem. When you're just like, ew, who wants to be you?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, for real. So
I think a lot of people don't even want to be a leader.
Yeah.
They are so happy and comfortable letting other people put themselves in those uncomfortable positions, and, you know, pave the way. And they're just going to sit back and see how it plays out and kind of, where do I fit into this? That they're missing.
This show is not for them.
That they're missing the point that as Christians, we are called to go and lead others, that we are called to go and find others and teach to others. And sitting on the couch accomplishes none of that, but that's where they want to be.
You know, and having a good marriage is hard.
Yep.
So being deliberate and pushing into your marriage is one of those hard things, right? It's not going out and splitting 4 cords of freaking wood. It's not the only part out there. Being a good parent is hard. It's draining. It is consistency. It is all that. All those things are all part of this. Yeah. There are men that I admire because they're the greatest parents in the world, and that's that's somebody who I look up to for that. That I pull that part of their identity out and want it to be a part of my identity. Then there are other guys who work out like fiends and they suck at everything else.
Yeah.
Right? Their marriage is a mess. Their kids are a mess. They're a mess. You know, but that part of them, I can pull some of that part out. So, you know, again,
You definitely have to recognize when people are overcompensating in one area because they don't want to, or they've failed to put the work in another area, and make sure that you see that from it's easier to see that from an outside perspective, but recognize that so that you don't accidentally in admiring what they've done in one area, follow them down that same path.
yeah, completely agree. You know, so let me get back to being the dangerous part. So, I mean, if you're a guy and you don't know how to fight, figure out how to fight. Go to an MMA gym, watch the movies, learn how to hit, get a heavy bag, get a bob. You know, the cheapest thing to hit in the world is a bob. Study, you know, there's plenty of stuff on YouTube. You better be able to defend yourself or defend others if you want to call yourself a protector. And if you can't defend yourself and you're counting on your firearm to do that, I understand if you're 90 and you're hurt and you've got injuries and all that. But if you're a healthy individual and you're going to put yourself in situations, you're on your church security team and you get a firearm and a 12-year-old girl can take it from you, then you're part of the problem. You're just a freaking poser with a cowboy gun thinking you're going to do something, and you're most likely going to get someone hurt. So you better learn how to do the rest of it, and that firearm is the last portion.
Well, and giving other people a false sense of security, saying, oh, there's security here, or that guy has a gun, so he's going to be able to take care of us. And
right. And what kind of mentor are you if you can't teach your son, your daughter to defend themselves?
Yeah.
Right? Again, you're outsourcing that to someone else. And you better not. Or if you do, you better find somebody good that you can trust, because holy smokes, there are some bad people out there that'll take advantage of your kids.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a place for people out other than you to teach something. I mean, not everyone's going to have the level of skill to be able to teach fighting. I mean, that's something that you've trained in. So,
there are basics. This is how you make a fist. This is how you punch. This is how you choke someone out. This is how you break an arm. This is how you do, etc. Right? There are basics. And then beyond that, of course, you're going to want expertise. Not everyone can be a Muay Thai fighter. Not everyone can be a BJJ instructor. Not everyone can be all that stuff. But you should be doing it with your kid. Right? And what better training partner for you to have in your house?
Yeah.
You know, just hopefully.
They have endless energy.
Yeah.
They'll certainly be out there with you.
You know, so again, and I just really think that these are the things that people are forgetting about now, and why we become such a soft mentality or a soft society, right? If we firm up our families and we firm up our base and our communities, then we'll be able to start pushing out and really making changes out in the greater scope of our country.
Well, I think so many people feel so helpless right now. You know, it's so easy to watch the news and, feel like this tiny little ant in this big picture of, I'm helpless. I can't do anything to change what's going on in the country right now. But if you can switch that perspective and look at all the stuff that you can do on this more granular level of your family and your immediate community, it completely can switch your mindset on being empowered to make those changes versus helpless and kind of just going along for the ride that's going on right now.
Do something. There's a saying in the teams, right, that, if you can't find something to do, you're wrong. There's a lot of them, right? So, my favorite one is, after you've taken care of yourself, once you're good, once you know you're straight, how can you best support your buddy? And that is every other question you're asking. Whether you're patrolling, whether you're, in a firefight, whether you're, doing anything, it's all right. Is my stuff tight? Yes. How can I best support this guy? How can I best support that guy? How can I best? And that's what you need to do. You need to bring that mentality.
I think
to
to your marriage is
without a doubt.
If everyone took that, how should I best support my buddy, being my spouse, to their marriage, that would make such significant changes for so many people. Everyone kind of looks to themselves is what am I getting out of this? But if each other says, how can I best support you? Then you're going to get that in return. And I think a lot of marriages would hugely benefit from that mindset.
And that's the key. It's putting yourself, basically you're putting yourself second, right? And it's do unto others what others would have do to you.
But if you put if both people put themselves second, that means you're being first for
that
someone
is
else.
why our marriage works so well, right? If it was a one-way street where we weren't trying to help each other or trying to bolster one another all the time, then, you know, resentment builds up and then it starts to break down, right? And that you start doing that with your child. You start doing that with your buddy. You start doing that with your coworkers. You start doing that with your boss. You're going to be somebody that everyone wants around all the time. And then it's going to be like, wow, what is different about that guy? Christ. And that's how you spread this. No one, you know, people will follow the guy who turns around his life who is a catastrophe, right? But no one's going to follow the catastrophe.
Right.
You know, so, you know, so again, it's getting around individuals like this. And that's what I'm hoping that PCM and our boards will be, is a place for people like Scott's calling out for people in Ohio, you know, for for us to sit there and say, hey, who's near me? You guys want to work out once a week? Once a month, do you want to go for a hike? You know, do you want to go shooting? Do you know, whatever, and finding those people, those partners, because it's hard, man. It's hard to get together, particularly now with these lockdowns and with societal pressure on you not to get together. It can be really challenging. So even if it's, you know, I want to use this time to use the tools of today, the Zooms and the remote and the podcasts and whatever, to plug into each other and to try to help where we can. And then maybe you build a little cell in your area where you got 2 or 3 guys that are meeting in the morning, working out, talking about Jesus, working through each other's problems. And then maybe now you bring your wives in. You know, and you know, so often the women are left out. You know, men, we feel like we're this full-time project and all this stuff, and the wives get left out in the cold. And, you know, no one's meaner than chicks. Holy smokes, they turn on each other.
That's
you
the
know,
truth.
well, I just look at how easily I make friends and how easily, you know, I can find that brotherhood and that bond. And then I look at how much of a struggle it is for you and females. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Oh, it's true. I mean, other than the BBC part, but
What's BBC?
Which is be crazy. It's the truth. We have a hard time making friends for a reason. I mean, I think, you know, women in our roles in the marriages and family, you know, that is such a full-time job in itself. To, you know, it's very easy to say, oh, well, I have to do X, Y, Z with the kids. And we very often put relationships other than our immediate relationships kind of, you know, off to the side. I certainly don't prioritize it kind of to my own detriment, because I often find myself saying, you know, dang, I wish I had someone to talk, you know, about this with, but I haven't put that energy myself into making women relationships. So, I mean, it's my bed that I made as far as that.
Right, but how do you get someone to invest in you? By investing in them.
Exactly. And so that's why I can't be mad that I don't have friends, because I haven't prioritized that. And I think a lot of women are in that same place, because, you know, we always have something to do with marriage, house, kids, etc. Work. So it's very easy to put it off to the side. And I think we need to also bump up the priority of those relationships. I
think so. And I know that, you know, we're fortunate, you know, to like each other. And, you know, we spend literally since we've been together 6 years now. 6 years now. We've been around each other every minute of every day, just about, except for like a week.
The experience that you guys are all having from COVID this year, that's been our entire relationship.
But because of our communication skills and because of, you know, we have, like, you're my best friend, you know, and, you know, we work, but there are some things I can't complain to you and my struggles with you to you. So sometimes I can, and we have to work through them, and that's where it should be. You know, and complain is the wrong word, but it's like, sometimes you need somebody to bounce things off, you know, so you can be like, you know what? I was in the wrong there. I need to go apologize to her. Or how do I frame this when I'm talking with her so that she can see how, what my struggle is with this more effectively.
I think the problem is a lot of people go to that outlet and they don't then bring that back to their partner and have the conversation with the person who they really need to have the conversation with. They only go and it becomes, instead of a
that becomes gossip, right?
Instead of a mentoring kind of, please help me work through this, it becomes just a complaining bleep session about your spouse. And I think that's it. It's a fine line between confiding in someone about your partner, but if you're struggling and without it becoming kind of betraying trust, and sharing too much with that person. And, but it's absolutely, it's a necessary thing to have that fellowship. I think it's people just don't always bring that back kind of in-house and then actually fix the problem. They turn and just start complaining about it.
Yeah. And I think that's where, the iron sharpens iron comes in, and that's part of the workouts. That's part of the fellowship, but it's also wise counsel to sit there and say, I've messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I messed up a ton. The only reason why I'm any version of what I am today is because of all the mistakes I made. Mm-hmm. And then finding Christ and getting healing in the mistakes I made to move forward. So, there's so much strength in that and so much wisdom in that. And sometimes you just need a brother who's going to give it to you straight, or a sister, like, you're messing up. Like, I'm hearing you making excuses. I'm hearing all the stuff you're messing up.
I admire that so much about you in the counsel that you give to your friends. You don't sugarcoat. You are willing to tell them what they truly need to hear versus what they might want to hear. I have a hard time being honest, I'm just kind of the agreeer when it comes to someone kind of talking about a situation. I don't often or always, contribute my actual thoughts to something, which is I'm not being the best friend to that person in that situation. And that's something that you do. You're willing to get uncomfortable for a friendship, which ultimately blesses them and strengthens your relationship with them. But I think a lot of people are afraid to get honest the way that you are.
Well, it has cost me some friends, but they weren't real friends.
Exactly. That's
right?
what you have to recognize.
So once you start that two-way street of talking, you got to, one, lower your ego. Two, it's got to come from a place of love, right? Yeah. If I'm telling somebody who's messed up, chances are it's because I've messed up, and this is how it affected me, and this is what I see. I also usually frame the question, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want me to tell you the truth? And I make them choose it.
Yeah.
Right? And most of them, to their credit, will say, I want you to give me the truth. And I'm like, you're not going to like it, and here it is. And I'm here to help you through it. I'm here to do that. Whatever. You can ask 100 other people until you get the right answer you want, but this is what's...
I think that's also where men are different than women. Women, we don't want to always hear that, as far as we want someone to just agree with our emotions and tell us what we did was right or whatever, So we as a breed, we need to we need to get better at hearing criticism.
So we talked about the word, diving back into your faith and attacking your faith and growing your faith in 2021. We talked about getting your body squared away in 2021. And we talked about, becoming dangerous in 2021, studying tactics, learning your firearms, learning how to fight, learn how to do all those things. Your family is all a part of every one of those steps, which is part of, what we talked about, kind of in the beginning, but I wanted to wrap it back around. Yeah. You should have the best family, the best relationship with your family you've ever had in 2021 coming off of this, meaning that you have time, you're around each other. There's not a lot of distractions like we talked about. You spend time with your son, spend time with your mom, spend time, work out the issues with your estranged siblings. Now is the time to do this because it's here while there is, all the noise is gone.
I'm curious to see whether divorces go up or down from this year.
That's going to
be a lot of people
stress,
started spending a lot more time with their partner and realizing that they don't actually like them, or those things that are the annoyances were allowed to kind of really fester with those close quarters and the stress and everything that went on this year. Or you could look at it that they were given the opportunity to work through things more and solve problems and less likely to get divorced. We'll see. I'm not sure where it's going to go.
You have a blessed day as well.
Thanks
Scott.
for joining us, Scott.
You know, I think that with stress comes more divorce.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, that's the sad case. So I think we'll wrap it up there unless anyone has any questions. I think we just went over an hour.
Yeah.
And, we had a whole bunch of things that we wanted to talk about today. I'm still waiting to hear from Ken if we're going to have Wednesday at 11. We will not be live on Friday this week. Because it's Christmas. And we might do something on Thursday, particularly, or tell Ken, hey, we'll see what's up with Ken. So anyways, just stay tuned. Our goal from here on out is to be live at 10 on Facebook and YouTube, and hopefully MeWe when they get added into this mix here. Every Monday at 10, every Wednesday at 11 with Ken. That'll be our biblical life support. And then on Friday, us again at 10 a.m. So I hope to see you guys here. We're going to start creating events in advance so you can see them there, and they'll be there as reminders. Would love to hear from you. Love your comment. Please share. Again, if you want to support us on Patreon, that would be absolutely amazing. Or if you wanted to pick up a shirt, a hat, anything like that, it would all be greatly appreciated, which you can find on our Facebook. So, and our website, I hope to get that wrapped up here in the next few days so that we can start hosting everything there and get off some of these platforms that may deplatform us if they don't like what we say. So, all right, everyone, thank you so much. I'm going to pray us out. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you now, and we are so thankful. We are thankful for our audience. We are thankful for our marriage, for our friendship. We are thankful for the opportunity to reach many more people out there, Lord. Lord, we ask you now, we come to you now, and we ask you now to heal our nation. Our nation is the most divided it's ever been, and there are dark clouds on the horizon, Lord. We would ask that you would heal this nation. We ask that you would protect our families, our president, our first responders at home, and our troops overseas. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, everyone. God bless.
Merry Christmas.